Simplify Me When I'm Dead by Keith Douglas. Remember me when I am dead, and simplify me when I'm dead. As the processes of earth strip off the colour of the skin, take the brown hair and blue eye, and leave me simpler than at birth, when hairless I came howling in as the moon entered the cold sky. Of my skeleton perhaps so stripped, a learned man will say, he was of such a type and intelligence, no more. Thus, when in a year collapse particular memories, you may deduce from the long pain I bore, the opinions I held, who was my foe, and what I left, even my appearance. But incidents will be no guide. Time's wrong-way telescope will show a minute man 10 years hence, and by distance simplified. Through that lens, see if I seem substance or nothing, of the world deserving mention or charitable oblivion, not by momentary spleen or love into decision hurled, leisurely arrive at an opinion. Remember me when I am dead, and simplify me when I'm dead. Okay, this was a poem by Keith Douglas. Keith Douglas was an English poet. He was born in Tunbridge Wells. He went to Merton College, Oxford, where he studied history, and I think he graduated with his degree in Oxford, I think in 1941, something like that. And then he went to the Second World War. He wrote a memoir of the war in Africa, from Alamein to Zemzem, and he was wounded in Egypt. Then he took part in the invasion of Normandy and was sadly killed during that at the age of 24. So, simplify me when I'm dead. This is talking about the way we remember people. It's talking about the way we remember and how time simplifies everything. When people are alive and are in front of us, they are very complex beings, and there are many different facets to them. But as somebody dies, when somebody dies, the memory slowly disappears, and this person becomes simpler and simpler. The memories you have of the dead are condensed. They're condensed to almost to an opinion, and then people who are very complex when they are alive, when we are with them, they become simplified to something that is almost a phrase or an idea or a concept and little more. Remember me when I am dead, and simplify me when I'm dead. So don't forget me when I die. Remember something about me, but make me simple. Simplify me. Don't remember all the complexities. Just condense me. As the processes of earth strip off the colour of the skin, take the brown hair and blue eye. So when somebody is dead, when they are buried, the colour of the skin, it disappears. And the hair, it goes. And the eyes, they disappear. So all of these complex things of the body, they become much simpler. Leave me simpler than at birth, when hairless I came howling in as the moon entered the cold sky. So when I die, I'm going to be much simpler. After I'm dead, my body rots away, and I will end up much simpler than I was when I was born. And when I was born, I had no hair, and I came howling into the world. And I think this is a lovely simile, as the moon entered the cold sky. So he's this hairless baby. He's saying that this is like the moon entering a cold sky. There's a cold, empty sky, and the moon appears, and this is his birth. And if you look at the moon in the sky, this is something that is quite a simple thing. It's not a complicated picture. Of my skeleton, perhaps, so stripped, a learned man will say, he was of such a type and intelligence, no more. So maybe somebody who's looking at my skeleton in the future, stripped away with all of the complexities taken, the hair gone, the skin gone, a learned man, perhaps an archaeologist or an anthropologist, will say he was of such a type. He was a Caucasian, and he had this brain capacity, he had this intelligence, no more. And this is going to make me much more simple, not the complex live being that you have in front of you. Thus, when in a year collapse particular memories, you may deduce from the long pain I bore. So after a year goes by, after somebody has died, a year later, the memory is different, and you will remember perhaps life was painful from the long pain I bore. I think this is saying that life is a painful series of events. It's not a very positive outlook. The opinions I held, who was my foe, and what I left, even my appearance, but incidents will be no guide. So after a year goes by, your memory of me will collapse. As time goes by, this memory, it shrinks, it becomes simple. And maybe you will remember the things that made me sad. You might remember the opinions I held, or who was my enemy, or the things that I left behind, or even my appearance. You might even remember what I look like. But incidents, things that happened, will be no guide to who I really was. These are like these anecdotes will not tell you who I was. So it's this change after death. Time's wrong way telescope will show a minute man 10 years hence, and by distance simplified. So once 10 years have gone by, the distance in time will leave me very simple, very simplified, and I will only be a tiny little memory. And I love this, time's wrong way telescope. He's saying that with time, it's like looking the wrong way down the telescope and you see a tiny spot at the end. And this is a wonderful metaphor for how time modifies the way we remember things. And remembering something 10 years ago, you're looking at a tiny speck of memory, not something that is real and in your face now. Through that lens, see if I seem substance or nothing, of the world deserving mention or charitable oblivion. So looking through the inverted telescope of time, am I still real or am I nothing? So this, as this distance gets longer, the speck disappears. So maybe will be deserving mention, and here I'm talking about his poetry, so he deserves mention. Or charitable oblivion, or maybe the world will just completely forget about you, because that's the best thing to do, yeah, not to remember the bad things about this person. Not by momentary spleen or love into decision hurled, leisurely arrive at an opinion. So I'm not defined by a moment of spleen, a moment of anger, or a moment of love that pushes me into making a decision. And I want you to arrive, having thought about it, to arrive at an opinion, not by a moment of anger that you felt for me, or a moment of love that you felt for me. Think about it and arrive at an opinion. Yeah, whether I deserve to be mentioned or whether I deserve to be forgotten. Remember me when I am dead, and he now repeats again the first line, and simplify me when I'm dead. And this poem, it's about time and death and how we remember things and how we remember the dead. And I think this poem is almost ironic, because he died aged 24. Yeah, so Keith Douglas, from 1920 to 1944. So, Simplify Me When I'm Dead by Keith Douglas.